Play-ins day one has been no stranger to some super spicy drafting, and I always love seeing picks that different regions believe in. This is especially the case with this game in Chiefs vs Fnatic. Fnatic have clearly proven themselves to be a pretty strong contender for a big portion of this play-in stage, but this draft has proven that teams like the Chiefs are super fearless in being able to use their draft to challenge teams like this, and I think they were actually very effective in that. As always, if this video was insightful to you guys, would love a sub for more content like this. Let's hop into the draft. Kicking off with the starting bans, the Chiefs banned out Sylas, Sejuani, and Caitlyn, while Fnatic banned out Aatrox, Draven, and Hecarim. By this point, bans are starting to stabilize, and I'm seeing some more trends in what some teams are leaning towards. I find it interesting that Chiefs ban out Caitlyn though, as that shows to me that they either don't like playing it on blue or aren't confident enough to be able to perform on the champion. The meta stabilization in draft is reflected as Graves is the opener for Chiefs, which has been coming up more and more as a standard pick. One thing that is open this time that Chiefs had given up is actually the Kalista, and Fnatic show no fear in being able to swing that, along with the Nautilus as their opener in the R1, R2. With this, two things are clear. Fnatic have secured priority into almost every matchup in the bottom lane thanks to the Caitlyn and Draven bans in phase 1, but in exchange for this power, they basically reveal a forward style for the rest of the draft. This is totally okay in most cases, but this just means that it's on the Chiefs to be able to take advantage of this and draft to minimize the effectiveness of this Kalista. This is shown immediately in the B2B3 with Braum Tristana. I actually really like this deck because this lane is leaning Chiefs towards the kind of draft they need in order to best answer this Kalista lane, since you know it's going to be aggressive. Braum specifically is a champion that specializes in peeling priority targets and playing backwards, so although there's a lot of drafts where it might not be that successful, if in the draft you know that it's able to be picked, then it absolutely can demolish teams. It's even crazier because I actually think it's allowed for the Chiefs to pick this in phase 1 as well, which is normally not allowed. Fnatic round out their draft in phase 1 with a Victor blind, which essentially reveals nothing from their side, and that's a good thing. This forward versus backward dynamic basically continues as we move quickly into phase 2 here. Fnatic opts to choke the top lane pool, getting rid of two weak side top laners that can help further stabilize the Chiefs on top side in the Gnar and the Ornn. The Chiefs continue to choke out forward options, deleting Nocturne, and actually getting rid of Poppy as well. Poppy is smart here as a ban as it specifically allows Tristana to time the jump against the Nautilus combo well. If it was left up and potentially picked by Fnatic here, Poppy can just time her W on that window that Tristana has to Nautilus to use his combo, and then the Tristana pick no longer becomes relevant anymore. We move from the bans and jump into R4. Fnatic opt for Maokai as their blind top laner here. Pretty standard stuff if we're thinking about blind tops. For those unfamiliar, I'd liken Maokai to almost like an Ornn here, but just not as strong in terms of his scaling. Now we're on the B4, B5, and the Chiefs have to pretty much reveal everything here at this point, but they have a pretty good idea of what to expect from Fnatic in terms of style, since they've saved jungle for R5, which is a role that doesn't have much variance right now. The picks they opt for are actually Gwen for the potential Maokai matchup and Swain. So with these two picks, the Chiefs fully commit to a drawn-out slow team fighting style to answer the forward-defined style that Fnatic are aiming for. Thanks to the way the draft played out, they actually got chances to effectively counter Fnatic in pretty much every lane, thanks to the leverage gained from the Graves blind. The R5 comes out for Fnatic, and they just go for the Lee Sin into Graves. The matchup's actually pretty Graves favored for the most part, and this is definitely a pretty weak use of the slot. Lee Sin is definitely okay into Graves because of his ability to kind of just maneuver around a bad matchup and play for fights, but I digress. Fnatic could have easily picked this R4 instead and then moved their top pick for R5 actually, so they can secure a decently strong counter pick, but it seemed that they did not want to risk giving up the Maokai to the Chiefs, so overall, I guess it makes sense. And this draft overall is honestly pretty solid from both sides. I think Fnatic are pretty confident in their ability to play through the Kalista and utilize their early game prowess. The Chiefs have done a pretty good job in making the most of their situation in this drafting, as their win condition lies in positioning well the front to back for these fights, and basically not allowing Fnatic's lead to get out of hand. If these conditions remain, they'll actually be able to simply allow Fnatic to engage and win out these fights. Fights are close, but if it were up to me, I'd actually rate the draft 60-40 in favor of the Chiefs. They end up losing the game anyway, but I think that rests more so on the gameplay side of things, and they did a great job at least setting themselves up for success in building team compositions. As always though, hopefully this analysis was helpful to you guys, and I'll catch you in the next one. Stay fresh.